Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Harold Antor. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, Make It Happen. Discover the secrets to success in sales. It's Amazon. It is a lot of other places, man. I'm telling you, type it into a search bar and you're going to be greeted with all of it. But if you want to gather everything that he has in store, and trust me when I tell you, man, listen, Harold has a lot in store, okay? Check out his personal website, first and foremost. That's HaroldAntor.com. But when you go there, you're going to find information about him, about this amazing book. You're going to find an online course, classes that are going to be available in the future, and even more books that are still yet to come. I'm telling you, not only has he led a very successful career, man, he is doing some things on his own right now that are going to change the outcome of your life. You just got to head on over to his website and check it out. One more time, that's HaroldAntor.com. And I quickly want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Harold was brought to us by one of the best publishing firms in the business, Bookwright's House. So for my writers out there who have gone through their process, man, listen, if you need some assistance moving that book you just developed, head on over to bookwrightshouse-us.com and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Harold here on the line. Man, look, I got a question for you guys, man. What if the difference between an average salesperson and a top-earning superstar wasn't talent, right? What if it was, in fact, secrets, or really just information, knowledge? In his book, listen, Harold has cracked the code on sales success. He reveals the 5 game-changing strategies that separate the struggling from the elite. Trust me when I tell you, man, we're going to cut through. There's no hype. There's no fluff. It's just battle-tested methods that can transform any sales career into a high-income, high-freedom lifestyle. Today, we're pulling back the curtains, man. Sit back, strap in, get ready, because your breakthrough, it starts the moment you pick up this book, okay? Technically, it doesn't even start then. It starts right now with this conversation. Here we go. Harold, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fantastic, and it's really a pleasure to be here with you.
Likewise. Listen, man, I appreciate the kind words. Harold, the pleasure is all ours. As someone that comes from an entrepreneurial family, that has owned multiple businesses myself, man, listen, I'm a firm believer. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what industry you're in. We are always selling something, man.
Absolutely.
Listen, before my wife and I got married, I was selling myself to her, okay? And I know a lot of people.
Yes, you were.
She had to say yes, Harold. All right, there was no other option, brother. I had to get it going. No, but listen, man, I love what you're talking about here, because the principles, when you first hear them, like the 5 principles, the 5 secrets, the 5 strategies, man, they seem simple, but they are complex and they are so important. And people, this is why you got to pick up the book. Before we go into it, man, let's start off at the foundation. Tell us more about yourself and your background, please.
Yes, thank you so much again for having me. By way of background, I am actually from the Bahamas, believe it or not, and I've been in the insurance business now for about 30 years. And tell you the truth, I kind of stumbled on the insurance business. When I got out of high school, my mother, who really worked as a domestic, we had very little money, and she had 6 children and was not able to afford college for us, so I did not immediately go to college after school. So I got a job at a local bank. It's called the Bank of Nova Scotia in the Bahamas, and I worked there for a while, but I was not being fulfilled. there's nothing wrong with a bank job. In fact, a lot of people were impressed because I had a bank job. Not that I had a big position, but in my day, just being employed at a bank was a big deal. I started as a teller at the bank, and I moved up a little bit. But after a while, I was there for about 6 years, but after a while, I began to realize that it was challenging to move up because I came from a relatively small town. It's one of the larger cities in the Bahamas, but compared to other cities around the world, it's very small. And as a result of that, the people who worked at the bank, particularly those who were above me, we always felt that in order to move ahead or to advance, someone had to die almost because people kept the jobs. And not only that, the job was not allowing me to fully self-actualize, to use what I felt was all of my skills and abilities and so forth. So I started, particularly after I met my wife now. We've been married 35 years, just celebrated our anniversary a couple of days ago. But back then, I was a young guy, 21, and after we met, I started to look around for ways to make more money because definitely my job at the bank was not going to do it.
Yeah.
Somehow or the other, a friend of mine introduced me to the insurance business, which was really new to me. I knew nothing about insurance, but long story short, I decided to pursue an opportunity in insurance and insurance sales in particular, not on the administrative side. And after a while, I began to notice a few things that put together started to carve out a path to success for me. And I was learning it. I did not realize what was happening at the time. And it wasn't until years later that I started to put the pieces together. And that's how I came up with the 5 secrets. So I got in the insurance business, and the first year I made enough money to make some savings, to set some money aside. And I left the insurance business to go off to college, which I always wanted to do and could not afford. My mother couldn't afford. There was no father in the house. After I got married, my wife and I, we packed up and we went off to school, did 4 years of college. And when it was time to graduate, I thought about what I should do now that I have a degree. And then I thought back about the money I made in the insurance business, and I just couldn't think about another field that I could have made that amount of money in such a short period of time. So I jumped right back in, and I've been in the insurance business ever since. And that, to give you in a nutshell a little background about how I got here. A few years ago, during the COVID period, I decided to write the book.
Right. Listen, man, we're glad that you did, because now we are able to thrive because of it. And listen, I think, it's properly titled in terms of utilizing the term secrets, although I want to go there next, because that, of course, implies hidden, right? Hidden knowledge. And I'm curious to know, from your perspective, why do these principles remain hidden? For most salespeople, is it a lack of access? Is it a lack of discipline, or potentially something else?
That's a very good question. And I thought long and hard about that, because as I told you, it took me a while to put it together. And as I began to think about it, I did not come up with all 5 at the same time. At first, I had 3 in my mind: sales skills, sales strategies, and product knowledge. Those were the 3 that popped in. And initially, I was saying, okay, I was going to do my presentations around those 3. And then as I thought about it more, I realized that the other 2 were indispensable, because you cannot activate those bottom 3 unless the first 2 are in place, and that is motivation and mental armor. And the reason why they seem like secrets is because they seem so ordinary, and people talk about each one of them separately all the time. You hear people talk about being motivated, whether it's internally or externally. People pay big money to go to events and so forth by well-known persons charging hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for seminars, and they go there to get motivated, right?
Yeah.
So motivation is not a new concept. And then mental armor. We talk all the time about the importance of having a strong mind and so forth. But one of the things I realized particularly in the insurance business, because I actually sold cars as well. That is how I made my money to get through college.
Yeah.
I worked through college and these things I talk about in the book, or I talk about all this in the book, but I worked through college as a car salesman. And what was similar between that kind of sale and selling insurance is the importance of being firm-minded, because the rejections are through the roof.
Right.
You get all kind of rejections, and everybody knows about the ridicule that quote unquote car salesmen get, right? Even though I sold both new cars and used cars, but people always talk about a used car salesman. I was a used car salesman. I actually sold new cars too, but the requirement of a tough mental armor is indispensable to being successful in sales.
Yeah.
But we talk about it all the time, that people think that, hey, that's just something that is out there. Sales strategies, now you start to get into what do you mean by sales? Because sales is not just a matter of walking into the office and talking to people. No, you got to have a strategy. And that strategy helps to hone your efforts, helps to direct your efforts. It's like help you to become a guided missile, not just in my book I say a scatter bullet. Strategies. And then sales skills. I realized how important sales skills were, because you talk to salespeople and you wonder, as you listen and watch or observe a salesperson in action. Sometimes we watch TV or watch movies. Remember that movie with, what's his name? The young guy from the Titanic.
Oh, you're talking about the Wolf of Wall Street. You're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. Yes, sir.
Yeah, DiCaprio. When you watch DiCaprio and you listen to him on the phone and showing his salespeople how to sell, man, that movie was a salesman's dream. It was like a roadmap. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now there were other elements in the movie that was a little racy. Yes, I understand that, but for the sales knowledge value, it was incredible. But one of the things that he was talking to them about is sales skills: what to say, how to say, and why to say.
Exactly. Right? Yeah.
And then the last element is product knowledge, knowing what it is that you are selling, not only the features, but the benefits and what they do for a person. Now, here is where the magic comes in. And here is why the secrets are the secrets. It is putting them all together as a harmony. Learning to have those 5 elements work together. You are the most effective when you have strong motivation, when you have a strong mental armor that allows you to go through the rejections and keep moving to like a running back, right? Yeah. Keep moving towards that down, regardless. And you have a game plan that you are moving along, just like a play in a football game. When the play is called, what the play is, and the running back, he moves in the movement, in the role of that play. And that's what sales strategies are. It is a playbook. This is the move. This is what you do. And sales skills, if the running back isn't able to run fast, isn't able to hold the ball, isn't able to jump, isn't able to do this and do that, the fact that he has a strategy in place, he isn't as effective. And then the last thing is you have to know the game. You have to know what it is that you're selling. It's okay to know that a car has, one of the things I sold when I was in school was trucks. I sold Ford trucks, I sold GMC, I sold Dodge trucks. And I did not come from a truck family or truck jurisdiction, really. I came from the Bahamas. But when I got to school, I needed to find a job, and I found a job in Oklahoma, which is a very big truck country. And you got to know your trucks if you're trying to sell trucks to guys who use trucks every day. I had to learn about the F-150 and the various engines, the inline six, the 351s, the various standard shifts and so forth and so on, the various beds, the cabs and so forth and so on, the torque, and all the things that go with truck. I had to know, but not only did I need to know what a sequential multi-port fuel injection system is, I need to know why that is beneficial. How does it help the car move? What makes it exciting to have? Which is different than the features. These are the benefits.
Right.
And the same thing with insurance. When I got in the insurance business, I had to learn the insurance products. What are they for? What do they help you achieve? And so forth. So product knowledge is critical. The magic comes when those 5 elements are deployed together.
It's the perfect sauce, right? You got the perfect seasoning there.
It's ragu or prego. It's in there.
Exactly. Harold, I'm going to jump in here, man. Listen, I love what you're talking about, and so much of it is making sense. I know it's making sense to my listening audience as well. People, I'm going to tell you again, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places. Make sure to check out his personal site, HaroldAntor.com. The book is entitled Make It Happen, and by the time we've concluded, by the time you pick up this book, I'm telling you, you are going to get out there, you are going to make some things happen. Check back in, because he has a lot more still on the horizon that you're going to want to pick up as well. Harold, my follow-up, man. You mentioned the 5 secrets. And out of the 5, you started off by saying the first 2 are the most important, right? Or you didn't say most important, but you said the other 3 can't exist without the first 2. So I'm interpreting that, and hopefully it's safe to assume those first 2 are the most important, man. You're talking about motivation. You're talking about mental armor. I want to touch up on that mentality because, people, I promise you, it doesn't matter what you're selling, man. Rejection is part of the game. In the moment you can get your head around that, and for me, it was like, man, I used to start my day knowing, listen, man, I'm going to eat 100 no's before I find my yes. But when I find that yes, I'm cashing in, and it makes it all worth it. So it almost was like a game that I was playing where I was like, I got my first rejection. Okay, let me check it off the list. And I'm going through and I'm wanting those rejections now because I know with each rejection, I'm getting closer to that yes. How does someone build unshakable confidence when facing constant rejection?
Absolutely. I have a saying that I share, and it goes, work with the yeses and don't count the no's because the no's don't count. Now, that's not original with me, but I love that saying. Work with the yeses and don't count the no's because the no's don't count. So there's a couple of things that people can do to build their strength, to build their backs so that rejections just roll off like the back of a duck, like water off the back of a duck, right?
Yeah.
The first thing that is very important is you have to cultivate a winning attitude. You have to cultivate a winning attitude. And that winning attitude means that you want to win. You want to have more out of life. You want to make progress. You want to make more money. You have to have a winning attitude, and an attitude that says, I believe that I can, and I believe that I am deserving.
Absolutely.
This is very important because I have come, in my estimation, down a very long path because in my early years, I had to deal with self-confidence. And one of the reasons I had to deal with self-confidence is because I come from a poor background, a family that did not have. I didn't have the clothes that my classmates have. I didn't have the shoes. I didn't have the money for various things. I didn't live in a nice place. My mother was a domestic. She cleaned people's houses and she worked at a hotel and as a dishwasher and so forth. So we didn't have much. So when I went to school, I didn't feel very confident about myself. So years later, various things happened and I began to find reason to want a better life. And I began to develop a healthy discontent with my state in life. A healthy discontent. And by that is that it isn't envy. It isn't jealousy. It is saying that I understand where I am and I believe that I can do better if I apply myself.
Yeah.
That is a healthy discontent. It starts with that. And then in my case, I went to college late. Like I told you, I had to work for a while, made a couple of dollars, and I ended up in college. And when I was in class as a 24, 25-year-old in class with 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. And at the beginning, I did not know if I had what it took to make it. And then small things started to give me a little bit of confidence. I would have an assignment, I'd get a good grade. I was like, maybe I could do this. So you use every opportunity you can to build your confidence while you have that desire out there. So one of the other things that helps to build confidence is to cultivate fearlessness. What do I mean by that? You have to take some risk, take a chance, right?
Yeah.
Let me give you a experience that I had when I was selling insurance. I was very young in the business, and I moved to a city that my wife was from, but I was not from that city. So I was not familiar with the people around and so forth. There was my wife and her family, but I was new to the city. But I had to find new clients to sell insurance to. And I mentioned this, I talk about this in my book. So one day I called, and mind you, I'm in my early 30s, late 20s. And I called a guy who was the head, he was the CEO or the managing director of one of the major accounting firms. I think it was KPMG. And I called him cold. It was a cold call. And I'm talking about cultivating fearlessness, right? This was a very scary move, a very bold move for me, because in my early 30s, to actually have an appointment with the head of a major accounting firm, a senior guy who at that time, I believe he might have been in his 60s, very experienced, very successful. I was nowhere near as successful as he was, nowhere near as experienced. But I made the call and he gave me an appointment. And I was even afraid that I actually even got the appointment because I had no idea what someone like me would have had to be able to say and share to sell this guy who was so successful. Well, anyway, he gave me the appointment. And when I walked in his office, I was intimidated just by the office alone. This is before he even came out, just by the office. And when he came out, he was gracious to me. He recognized that I was so much younger. And he actually allowed me to go through my presentation. He did not buy, but it wasn't because, at least he did not say that it was because my presentation didn't have value. But at that point, he concluded that he didn't have a need for whatever reason. But right. He was gracious enough to allow me the appointment. So I walked out. It was on the 7th or 8th floor of this building. So I walked out, and when I got in the elevator, oh my God, I felt like I was like a whole mountain had come off of my shoulders, but I also felt like I was on cloud 9 because I actually survived it.
Right.
Now, what was significant about that is after I survived that experience, that gave me, because when I got downstairs in my car, I sat in the car for a few minutes just to calm down. And I said, okay, good. I actually survived. I really didn't care about It didn't matter to me that I didn't sell because I just needed to get through it.
Yeah. Got to take the training wheels off.
After I got through that, I was like, wow, okay, I did that. I didn't die. The guy didn't kick me out. He didn't tell me that I was incompetent, that I had no value. He didn't berate me. I said, you know what? I could do this again. Cultivating fearlessness and be willing to take some risks. A winning attitude and a mental toughness where you are willing to cultivate fearlessness. I tell people, listen, cultivate professional aggressiveness. Don't be a hound to people, but
Love that
you got to be aggressive. Yeah, cultivate professional aggressiveness and believe in the sales process. This is how you develop mental armor. Believing in the sales process means that you recognize that you will not sell you might go a whole day, see 5 or 6 people, and everyone say no, but at least you could go home and say, you know what, I did a good job today.
I love what you're saying because, listen, like I mentioned, you got to get the training wheels off, right? Sometimes, or not even sometimes, I think probably all of the time, if not the majority of it, our mind is our worst critic, right? Our mind is our biggest detriment because things in our mind can be the barriers that are holding us back. And oftentimes we think something and then we go through it and we're like, man, that actually wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Like you said, you went through it the one time and then you told yourself, yeah, I could do this again. And then you do it a second time, a third time, a fourth. By the time you get to like number 50, you're like, man, I got this. This is like riding my bike now. It's second nature to me. I want to close out now by asking this next question. This obviously wasn't always a success story for you. It's a success story now, but you had to go through that, man. You had to hit your own potholes before you really figured out how to drive along that turbulent road. Share your personal experience with us, man. What was your biggest sales failure and how did it shape your perception? How did it shape your understanding of these secrets?
Let me say this, that I've had, in my business, what I find are the 3 things that causes salespeople to fail a great deal. These 3 things. Number 1, and I'm talking about this with respect to some of my greatest failures, right? This is how I learned. Number 1, the 3 things that salespeople don't do that causes them to fail. And this is what was causing me to fail, and I had to pick it up. Number 1, salespeople do not see enough qualified people. Now, for a long time, particularly when I first started, I was all over the place. I was trying to sell anything that moved. I was spending an inordinate amount of time talking to any and everyone.
Right.
But I did not see the quality of people that I needed to see, and I wasn't meeting my required appointments per day. This goes back to the believing in the sales process. I was taught that you need to see, particularly in the insurance business, you need to have 3 sales appointments a day. In different sales arrangements, the rules might be different. For the insurance business, I was not having, sometimes I'd go home and I'd have 1 appointment, but mind you, I made a lot of phone calls. I may have done a lot of office work. I was busy. And I had 1 eye-to-eye appointment with a client. Sometimes I had 0, but I was very busy that day. And I came to realize years later that a critical part of being successful in sales is being true to the numbers. So one big failure is I went a long time not seeing enough people, even though I was very busy doing stuff. The second is, consistent with that, not qualifying the people that I do see. First thing is not seeing enough people. The second is talking to the wrong people and not talking to the right people. You want to qualify people I don't care what it is you're selling. If you're going to sell jumbo jets, don't talk to a guy who can't afford millions of dollars.
Exactly.
If you're going to sell Rolex watches, don't talk to a guy who's making $500 a week.
Mm-hmm.
You have to qualify so you want to move in the space where all you are doing all day is, number one, seeing enough people. In my case, it would have been have 3 eye-to-eye appointments with clients and present your offer a day, 3 a day. The second is make sure that they're the right clients, that you've qualified. They're in the right market. That's the strategies. These are the strategies that I'm talking about. Know your market, identify your market, and stay in your market. Drive deep in your market. That's the second thing. Because for a long time, I did not do that. And a lot of people I talked to, I lost their business. In the insurance business, they call it lapses because they couldn't afford what I was trying to sell. Mm. And then the third thing is we have long conversations with people. I'm meeting with somebody. I have a meeting with them for an hour. I do a presentation and so forth. And then I get up and not ask for the sale. You have to ask for the sale. And as simple as that sounds, if you don't give the client the opportunity to buy with a direct question, you lose the opportunity.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things. See enough people. Operate only in the right market. You determine what that market is. Right? Once you identify your market, you operate in your market. And the third thing is, when you have an appointment with, it doesn't matter how small or big a thing that you're selling. I used to sell insurance that's, only $100 a month. And I sold insurance that's 30, 40, 50,000, hundreds of $1,000s a year, even millions. It doesn't matter. You have to ask for the sale. Once you've done your presentation, you have to say, listen, can we close this deal today? Is there anything that is stopping us from signing off today and processing this application today? If you give me your credit card or if you give me a check, we can sign this off and complete this and have this in effect for you today. Sign here.
Love it.
So in terms of things that I did not do, those were some of the things I didn't do that I encourage people. If you want to be successful, incorporate those 3 things in your repertoire.
Harold, listen, man, I knew that this conversation was going to be enlightening. I knew that this conversation was going to be educational. I did not realize it was going to have me driving down memory lane so much. Because a lot of the things that you're talking about, man, like I remember that. I remember wasting so much time on clients that, they were giving some buying signs, but at the end of the day, I knew they weren't qualified to buy. So then we go through this entire presentation, we get to the end and it's, I don't have the money or my credit just isn't great. And then I'm like, man, I just wasted when my yes just walked by. Had I not been talking to you, I would have ran into my yes, man. And I couldn't because I wasted time with you. People, I'm telling you, this book is layered, man. And when you start to go into the weeds, you're going to start to uncover a lot of it. We've barely scratched the surface. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's HaroldAntor.com. Make it happen. That's the title of the book, but that's a challenge to you as well. Get out there, make it happen, okay? The book is the blueprint, but the choice and the success is yours. It's time for you to put in the work, man. Head out over there, pick up your copies today. Harold, this has been a wonderful conversation, man. An absolute honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure.